In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your Podia website in less than 15 minutes. We're going to start from the 30-day free trial on Podia up to the branding setup, the colors, the font, and we're going to set up the navigation menu, and then finally we're going to create pages. So let's get started. So the first step will be to type podia.com on your browser. And once you land on the page, you can either use the sign up for free button at the right top or the one at the middle to sign up. So the next thing, we're going to insert our name, our email, and our password. Once you've inserted your email and your password, click on create account. And then you automatically land on your dashboard on Podia. So you will get this message to confirm your email address. And when you get to your email, it will look something like this. And all you have to do is to click on this confirm your email, and your Podia account is now confirmed. And now on the dashboard, we can click on website. And once you click there, you will be able to select whether you want to start off as a blank site, as a link page, email. But for the purpose of this demonstration, let's start off with a full website option, and then click on continue. And we'll be prompted to select our site language. In this case, I would leave it at English. You can select any language which you want your website to be in, and then proceed to click show me my site. So automatically, Podia is going to generate a pre-made website which has the home page where we are right now, and also an about page and a service page. The next step to make sure that it's easy to get your site up and running on time is to set up your branding, your theme, and we will do that from the design tab. Setting this up becomes a lot easier when you've already determined the colors, your logo, and even some of the images that you're going to use on your Podia website. So for example, on Canva, I have already made a mood board for this website. And so on this mood board, you can see that I already have my logo done. I have 6 colors that I'm going to use across the website. I have 3 fonts that I'll be combining for both the headings and the text. And I made these from pictures that I intend to put on the website, so it gives me an idea of the colors to extract that would blend perfectly on this website. But you don't have to have it perfectly figured out this way. You can as well just wing it, and the important thing is that you follow the guideline I'm about to give you right now. So let's get started with our Podia global settings. Here on my left is my Podia dashboard, and here on my right is my mood board in Canva. So let's start by clicking on the home page, and we'll go to the design tab and select colors, and then we'll go to the base colors. So we can set up all the 6 colors that will be reflected throughout this website. And let me explain how these different shades, accents and shades, work. Now, the first 2 colors that I have set up here are going to be the accent 1 and 2. So this first accent 1 is really important because that's the dominant color in your website. That's the color that your buttons would have throughout the website, including the buttons in your emails when you send them out to your students. So you want to make sure that it's a color that is easily recognizable. It stands out. So make sure it's not too light so that it can easily draw attention. And so for the accent 2, it's also a complementary color that would go very well with the main color. And now for the shade 1 and 2, you have to make sure they are dark colors, very dark colors that are easy to read, because your shade 1 is the color that your titles would have, and your shade 2 is the colors that your text would have. So for this, I have chosen a dark color that I like, so we'll go ahead and add that. And for my shade 2, I like my text to be completely black, so I just went ahead with the black 000. And then finally we have the shade 3 and 4. This would be the light colors that would be used as a background in most of your sections. So for this, I have a very light color that easily blends with white, and then usually the shade 4 comes in white, which is just the same color I have, so we're just gonna leave it that way because it works. So right now we have set up the theme for our website. So once you have your base colors completely set up, I highly recommend you go back and check out your different section themes. And so this is the place where you have to open up each of the theme and decide if the headings, for example, we are on the vivid theme right now, so you decide if you like the way the colors and the buttons are white, or you would prefer a different color if you like the way the headings are in white. So if just in case you prefer, oh, I would prefer the headings to be black, you can easily just click here and change it. So you can still customize your colors even after they have been set from the global settings. So it's important to go through every single theme and then customize the different colors to your preferences. The next thing you want to set up in your global settings is your fonts. And for this, you'll be able to set up the headings, the paragraphs, the buttons, the navigation to any different fonts you want them to be. So let's get started with the headings. And for me, I have chosen Barlow Condensed as my heading. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this default. By default, it's on Shimo, and then I'm going to look for the appropriate one, and then I'll click on it. So you can see that it automatically has changed over here. And then I would also go to the next place, which is the pre-titles, and I think for this part I would prefer to go with PT Sheriff. So let's go under the Sheriff fonts and see if we can find PT Sheriff. Okay, yes, we have PT Sheriff. And the next and the final heading settings I have to do is for the subtitles, and for this I will also go for the same Barlow Condensed. So once we're done with the headings, let's move on to the paragraphs, which is the font every text, small text on the website is going to have. For this one, I chose to go with Arimo. So I'm just going to scroll down and click on Arimo. And finally, we would go to our navigations. Okay, let's start with the button first. So I would like everything that stands out to be the same Barlow Condensed, because that is the primary font that all the headers have. So it will be nice that every other thing on the website reflects what the header has. So that's why also the navigation, I would also set that to go for Barlow Condensed. So, and just like that, we've completely set up the fonts that is reflected everywhere on our website right now. So the next thing to do in our global settings will be the interactives, which is the button. So usually by default, the button is blocked. The only thing I change here is the button. I change it to rounded corners, just like this. I usually prefer my buttons looking this way. Every other thing is perfectly fine in the default settings. The next thing you want to do is to set up the edges of your media. So usually I like it when my pictures are curved. Right now the edges are straight. So I'll click here and I'll change it to large. Yes, and the videos as well, I'll change them to large, so it gives it this curvy edge. And this is the only settings that I do here. And finally, on the structure settings, this is where you determine the gaps and the paddings. So as for the width of the website, 1152 pixel is just perfect. I usually leave it at that, and the gap is good where it is. But for the top and the bottom paddings, I set that to 3, which looks a lot more cleaner. It gives you that clean website look. And for my buttons, I always like for my cards, just like the way I do it on my media, I leave it at large as well. So let me show you where the cards are. For example, this is a card. A card is those boxes where you have a different background from what is inside it. So for example, the corners of this box, you can see it's a medium size, but once I click on the large, it curves in a lot more better. So you would appreciate this when you see it on a bigger screen. And then another thing I do is the opacity. I changed this to about 0.08, and the shadow depth as well, I leave it at 8. So it just makes sure that each time I actually have a shadow around the box, it is obvious. So you can see the shadow is a lot more reflected better on the box. And now that we're done with our global settings, the next thing we have to do now is connecting the navigation buttons to each of the page designs, and then we'll go ahead and hit publish in order to take our website live. So before you think about setting up your navigation menu, you probably already figured out how many pages and what pages you want to display on your header. And so once you've determined that, the first thing you should do is to create them as pages in your Podia website before thinking about linking them on the navigation menu. So for that, we're going to click here and go to the pages, and here you can see we have just 3 pages, which are the default pages that came with the website when we set it up. Other pages are like your checkout success, your privacy policy. These are default pages, which of course you can also edit, but usually most people just leave it the way it is because it works just fine. Do not be worried about the fact that maybe you don't want to have an about page or a service page. You can always edit and change these pages title and URL to your preferred page. So for me, I would like to keep an about page and of course a home page, but I do not want a service page. So I will click on this gear icon here, and over here in the settings, I'm going to change it to products. And on the URL as well, remember to change this so that it matches with your page URL. And so the next thing I will do is to click new page, so I can add the other pages I want on the navigation page. So once you do that, it's going to open a blank page that's not been designed. So just click out here and you're going to see it as a new page. Go to the settings as well and then rename it to whatever title you want. For example, I want this to be free resources, and you will notice that it has generated some letters as my URL. So you want to keep your website neat by making sure the URL matches with the page title. So once you've pasted it here, automatically Podia is going to make it the URL of that page. So you would go through the same process to create other pages of the website that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this. So now that we're done creating our pages, even though they are empty and not designed yet, the next step will be for us to go ahead to the navigation menu and then link our pages here with a link. So the first thing you want to do, you can do here, is to add your logo, but we're not going to set up our logo from here. We're going to do that shortly after linking the pages, because it's more appropriate to put your logo in the settings so that it can reflect even in the emails. Unless the logo you want to use here is quite different from the one you're going to use for your settings, then by all means go ahead and create a different logo. But if this is the logo you want to use everywhere across your website and your emails, I recommend that you set it up from your settings. So the next thing we want to do over here, we need to link each of these to the appropriate pages we have just created. So I'll click first on the about, just to be sure that it's going to the right page. So here I can see that it's going to a URL. A much more better way to set up your pages is to link it directly to the page so that it would never have any reason to break in case your URL changes. So we're going to go ahead and select about here, and for the services, remember I don't have a service page anymore, so I'm going to change this and go ahead to pages, and then it will show me the products page. So I'll do exactly this same thing for all the pages that I want to show in the navigation menu. So when it comes to the blog page, I want my blog to show up here. However, it doesn't work the same way the pages work. You have to set up your blog from your settings. So right now we're going to head back into our Podia dashboard. And once we're here, you're going to see this blog tab. And when you click on it, you would notice that we haven't set up our blog yet, which is why it's not going to reflect. So we need to click on this button and say set up blog. So now that we've launched our blog, we're going to go back to our menu and we're going to refresh. And once we have refreshed the page and we go back to our navigation menu, what we want to look out for is the page called the index. So we're going to click on our blog, and over here we're going to click on page, and then we're going to click on index. So the index is what hosts your blog page. You can design these, and then automatically any blog post you make on your Podia website will populate on this page. So be conscious of that, not to use the regular page for your blog. Instead, remember to select the index. And so now that we have our navigation menu set up, we want to reorder them to be exactly in the order we want them. For example, I want my homepage at the top, I want my free resources here, and the blog before the contact. The next thing we want to do afterwards is to decide the position. Right now it's to the left, but usually I like my navigation menu at the right. So when I click here, you would notice it has moved the position. So we're going to go ahead and set up our logo. The reason my name shows here is because that's the name of the website when I signed up. So Podia is going to automatically use the name you've set up until you change this to a logo, and then it disappears. So for my header, I would like the background color also to be in the light theme. So we're going to go ahead and change the theme to light. And next up, we're going to go to our settings. And once I'm here on my Podia dashboard, I'm going to click on settings. And over here, you can see the name of the website is my name. And here that it says personalize with a logo, I would click here and choose my logo from my computer. And once my logo is done uploading, I'll click on save and come back here and refresh to see if my logo has been updated, and then you can see that my logo is here now. So the login comes here automatically because that's where the students log in, but you can always turn it off. So to turn it off, you click on the navigation menu, you come here that says show login button, and you turn it off. So this is how to set up your navigation menu. And the next step will be to design your pages from the home page to every other page on the navigation menu, and we'll be doing that in our next video.